Hey guys, we are going to make homemade pizza dough today, and I'm going to show you how to do it. First of all, I want to talk to you about my KitchenAid. You do not have to have one for this recipe, but it does make things a lot easier if you have one. This one is the big boy. This is the 6-quart KitchenAid. I also have the small one right back there, and that's the 3-quart. It works great if you're making cookies, or a small batch of bread, or a small batch of muffins. Something like pizza dough, you might want to invest in the big boy. This guy also grinds his own meat. By no means am I endorsed by KitchenAid. I just really like their mixers, and it makes cooking really easy and really fun, especially when you don't have to do a lot of work yourself. But let's get started. So first things first is you need to activate your yeast. Here's my yeast. I buy mine in bulk at Costco. It just comes like this, in a big pack. You need about 2 1/4 teaspoons into your mixture. All right, so once your yeast is in your mixture, what you're gonna wanna do is make some sugar water. I used to use white sugar for this, but then I thought it would be better to use honey. I buy this at Costco. I really like it. It's raw and unfiltered. I think it's much healthier. If you do not have honey, you can also use pure maple syrup. That works well too. So what I want to do, and quick tip, whatever you put honey in, add a little bit of cooking spray to it, because literally your honey just falls right out into your water. And this is about a tablespoon or so of honey in here. And then if you just give it a little thing, all the honey comes out and you're good. So you get your full tablespoon in there. Go ahead and just mix it. I like to make mine like sugar water. This prevents it from having a big clump of honey at the bottom of your mixer, and it just helps when it's activating the yeast. So you just want to go ahead and put this in. All right, so I've just dumped the honey in water mixture in with the yeast, and as you can see, I don't even stir it around. I always just throw my yeast in the bottom, and then I pour my water honey mixture on top, and I just let it sit there. And as you let it sit there, you can see that the yeast starts to activate. Hey guys, so it's been about 5 minutes since we have added our yeast and our honey water to the KitchenAid, and as our yeast is activated, this is what it should look like. See how nice and foamy it looks? That's perfect. That's exactly what you want. Now, if you notice that it doesn't look like this, and maybe your water was too hot, it might have actually killed your yeast instead. So unfortunately, you're gonna have to redo it. I've had that happen many times. You think the water's good, and then it's just too hot and it killed your yeast. So you gotta start over. Don't try to do it with not active yeast, because it won't turn out. So anyway, we are now going to add the flour, turn the mixture on. I do have one teaspoon of salt right here that I'm just gonna dump in with my flour. And this is what I use. I just use a Kirkland pure sea salt. But you can use whatever salt that you have on hand. So you do wanna actually just add your flour mixture in a little bit at a time. You don't need to like dump the whole thing in. I usually do it in like 3 batches. So I just try to dump some in, let it mix for a little bit, dump the last, and then so it's not all in there all at the same time. I have about 7 cups of flour right here. I use actually high gluten pizza flour. If you only have all-purpose flour, it works just as well. The only thing with the pizza flour is that it has high gluten in it, so it's a little bit easier to stretch. I feel, and it might create a few more bubbles like in your pizza crust as it bakes. Some people really like that. I know if I want like a thinner crust pizza, it works better just to use the all-purpose flour, but I'll show you what this looks like as we finish it. So this is what it looks like when it first starts to mix around. It kind of looks like a gluey mess, but that's okay. It'll all form to a ball, and really you just leave it in the mixer when it's done, and it'll just kind of knead for a while. You don't have to take. So this is about 3/4 of your flour mixture. I'm gonna add the other quarter in, and then as you can see, it's already started to kind of form a ball. It's still kind of too wet. You can't really do much with that. It'll be kind of a sticky mess if you try to pick that up. So I'm gonna add in the other quarter of flour, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Hi guys, so I went ahead and I added in the last quarter of flour, and this is what it should look like. It's in there. It may look a little dry to you. It's not. You just gotta let it mix its way through, and you can see as the dough hook is doing all of the work in here, you guys don't have to do anything, but just keep an eye on it. We're gonna let this mix for, I don't know, I would say probably 5 to 7 minutes. Just kind of knead it around, and then it'll be done, and I'll show you what the next step is. Alright guys, so occasionally you guys do have to actually take off some of the dough off your dough hook. Sometimes it just kind of gets stuck on there. You just kind of move it off, and then you just turn your KitchenAid back on just to let it keep going. As you can see, my dough's not actually that sticky. I can move the camera a little closer here so you guys can see. As you can see, my dough is not that sticky. It's still a little sticky, but not too bad. So that tells me that it's almost done mixing, and we'll get it there. We'll get it in the other bowl just to sit and rise for a few minutes. The dough is done. Do you see how it kind of has pulled away? It's not super sticky anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and lower this down. We're gonna take our dough hook off. If I can get it off here, there we go. I'll pull that out, and then I'm gonna put the dough on a cutting board, and I'm gonna show you what it looks like. All of your pizza dough should look like. As you can see, it's not overly sticky. You don't need any flour on your hands. It should be very easy to work with. I usually just take mine, kind of roll it around in like a ball like this, make it, there we go, kind of like a little shell. And then what I went ahead and did is I went ahead and greased a bowl with some cooking spray. And I'm just gonna put my pizza dough in there and go ahead and put it in a, cover it with some plastic wrap and put it just kind of in a space over by the stove. So then you've got, you know, it kind of stays out of the drafty area. I usually let my pizza dough rise for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. Hey guys, welcome back. So as you can see, our dough has rised up quite a bit from the last time when we put it over there. It's been rising about 40 minutes or so, which this is a really good, you know, size that you want to work with. Sometimes it kind of bubbles up over. You don't want that. You just want it to stay within the bowl. So let's go ahead and dump it out. And I told you last time, remember when you spray your bowl with a little bit of cooking spray, your dough just falls right out. No mess in your bowl. So you definitely want that. So we're gonna get started. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this in half. This will make 2 sheet pans like this. I know they're not the most prettiest, but they seriously make the best pizza dough. So I use onesies. I think these are 12 by 18s. If you don't have these, that's okay. If you have a little bit smaller cookie sheet, those work just as well. You just might have to trim off a little bit of dough instead. So we're gonna cut these in half, and we're just gonna set one off to the side. Granted, they don't have to be exact, but you know, try to get it as close as possible. So here's this one. I'm gonna pop this guy right back in the bowl, and I'll just save him for just a second. Now what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna add just a little bit of oil, I'd say about a tablespoon or so, into the middle of your pan. Don't skip this step because your pizza dough will stick to the bottom of your pan and you will never get it out. And don't use cooking spray because it's not enough to keep the dough from sticking to the bottom. So once you get like your tablespoon in there, just take your hand, rub it around like this, and get it all nice and oiled up. You can oil the sides if you'd like, you don't have to. Sometimes I find it easier if you don't, so then your dough will kind of stick to the sides a little bit. Gives it like a really good crust on the sides. So once you have that done, go ahead and grab your dough, and all you want to do is stretch your dough a little bit like this. And you don't even have to get the, you don't even have to use a rolling pin. As you can tell, this dough is nice and stretchy. And so you just want to kind of work it out, and you can see I don't even have flour down, nothing sticking. And that's how you want your dough to be. If it's too sticky and it's getting stuck to all of your surfaces, you probably need to add a little bit more flour, so it's a little easier to work with. So once you get it in the pan, just kind of move it around. And as I said, if you have oil, your dough won't stick. See, it's real easy to pick up and move. So, and you just want to kind of fit it into the pan, just like this. Get your fingers in there, pinch it up around the sides. It kind of holds the dough in place. And if you don't like this much dough, this much crust around it, feel free just to kind of cut some of it off. It'll make not so much of a thick crust, I guess, on the sides. My family personally likes a lot of dough, so I keep it. They like to dip it in ranch, which makes it nice. Okay, pizza dough is in the pan. See how great that looks? You might need to just move it, keep it like this. So for today's purpose, I'm just gonna use this. It's actually spaghetti sauce. I don't actually have pizza sauce, but this works great. All right guys, so I'm just in here finishing putting cheese on the pizza. I've already put the marinara sauce on, spaghetti sauce. If you're in a pinch, you can always use that. It doesn't necessarily have to be pizza sauce. If you don't have it, no big deal. So let's get the cheese done, and then the kids wanted sausage today, so that's what I'm gonna be putting on. I didn't have any pepperoni for today, so we'll get that. Here's our sausage. Now this is just a real mild sausage. It's actually a breakfast sausage from Costco, and it works just as well. It's not spicy, so the kids really like it. Just a kind of different flavor. I do pre-cook it before I put on the pizza, because the pizza only takes about 7 to 10 minutes or so. So I don't really put anything raw on the pizza. I just cook everything ahead of time. So we'll get this in the oven. As I said, 7 to 10 minutes. Make sure you keep an eye on it. I know every oven is different. I have the oven set at 475. And, you know, keep an eye on it. You definitely don't want it to burn. Haley, come on this side. I go ahead and I put it in on the bottom rack. It'll make your dough on the bottom get nice and crispy, which is what you want. But again, make sure you keep an eye on it. After about 5 minutes, open it up, see, make sure that your pizza's not burning. If it looks like it's getting a little dark, go ahead and put it up on the top rack to continue the rest of the time until it's done. So we'll check back in 10 minutes and see where we're at. All right, guys, we're about halfway through our bake time, and we're gonna check on our pizza to see how it's coming along. Oh man, that looks so good. Okay, so now that it's starting to brown a little bit on top, I'm gonna go ahead and take it out, but I'm just gonna stick it on the top rack for about another 3 minutes. That'll help brown your cheese a little bit more on top. And then you can also tell that your crust is done as it's pulling away right here, and it's easy to lift up. So about 3 more minutes and that pizza will be ready to come out. All right guys, our pizza is done. We're gonna pull it out. It's been about 3 minutes or so, and I'm gonna stick it up here on a cookie. These are just cookie racks, but it helps kind of cool your pizza down. You don't want to pull it out of the pan just yet. But here, I'll give you guys a sneak peek underneath. That's what your crust should look like. See how easy it comes off the pan? You definitely want that. You don't want to be scraping it off the pan. So we'll be real easy to remove. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pick this up and pull it out like that. You're gonna want your pizza to cool for just a few minutes, just to kind of let the cheese and everything settle, because it's super hot. If you cut into it right now, your cheese is gonna like goop out everywhere. So give it just 2-3 minutes, and then you can cut it and enjoy. See how it tastes. So good, look at that. Look how nice and fluffy your dough is. So good. I don't know what to say. Alright guys, thanks for joining me and watching me make pizza today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share down below. And the recipe for pizza will be in the description box below. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.